And as disaster recovery efforts continue to unfold across the Southeast, Hurricane Helene's aftermath is also, of course, playing out on the presidential campaign trail. Monday afternoon, Donald Trump visited Valdosta, Georgia, where storm cleanup is underway. While there, he seemed to suggest President Biden isn't responding to the storm.
The governor's doing a very good job. He's having a hard time getting the president on the phone. I guess they're not being responsive. The federal government is not being responsive, but they're having a very hard time getting the president on the phone. He won't get on, and of course the vice president, she's out someplace campaigning, looking for money.
So that's Monday, right? Those claims appear to be false because Georgia's Republican governor, Brian Kemp, says he has spoken with the president about federal aid.
The president just called me yesterday afternoon. I missed him and called him right back. And he just said, hey, what do you need? And I told him, you know, we got what we need. We'll work through the federal process. He offered that if there's other things we need, just to call him directly, which I appreciate that.
So, of course, again, Trump's in Georgia on Monday saying the governor can't get the president on the phone. The governor on Monday says he got a call from the president the previous day. He missed the call, but then he called him right back. President Biden was asked about Trump's claims during a press briefing in the Oval Office.
He's lying, and the governor told him he was lying. The governor told me he was lying. I've spoken to the governor, spending time with him, and he told me he's lying. I don't know why he does this. And the reason I get so angry about it, I don't care about what he says about me, but I care what he communicates to the people that are in need. He implies that we're not doing everything possible. We are.
All right, our panel is back here. Mike Dubke, I mean, this is a situation where the focus needs to be on the people who are recovering from this horrible storm, from us as reporters who are looking at it, from everyone else. President Trump seemed to make it about himself here and his criticisms of President Biden. Why is he doing it, and what impact does this have?
Well, I mean, we've seen storm politics affect presidential races. There always seems to be a big hurricane just before a presidential election over the last several years.
It is hurricane season.
It is hurricane season, and we've seen different styles of politics here, where it's helped the incumbent president and where it's hurt the incumbent president. We can talk about Sandy, we can talk about Katrina, and all of that. I think, you know, look, Trump was on the ground. I fully expect that Harris was on the ground in Georgia, and I fully expect that with two battleground states of Georgia and North Carolina, that Vice President Harris will be there. It's going to be a bit of a struggle figuring out, do they send Harris, do they send Biden, because of these storm politics. So I appreciate the question, but I think both political parties and both candidates are going to look to say, I could do a better job with response. And that's ultimately what you saw from former President Trump.
And it puts them all in a, like, to pick up on your point, a difficult situation. You know, we're all baseball fans at this table, and often when they take a picture out of a game, the sportscaster will say, he can't win it, but he can lose it. And the scenario here is one in which a candidate, you know, can maybe get the brownie points of showing competence in a time of stress, but also really can lose an election by appearing all the things you're saying, Mike, whether it's not caring, insensitive, too political, not political enough, not empathetic enough. And, you know, it's a world of things.
Very unpredictable environment.
But it is, like, if Donald Trump was in Georgia, he did what he did. If Biden or Harris goes, this is all the sort of theater of it. What matters is what they're doing, what the response is. And it is, I think this week, all the things we've been talking about, it's a reminder of what this job that Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are running for actually is. It's managing a war in the Middle East, potentially. Right. Certainly what is a war so far that could get bigger. It's dealing with flood responses. It's dealing with the port strike. It's that kind of stuff. And then we can let ourselves be distracted sometimes by the theater of it. It really, I don't think it mattered at all for Trump to be there for the actual response to the storm. It won't really matter at all if Biden or Harris goes for what it will do to the storm. It's just, do they look like they're caring? Do they look like they're in charge?
And we should focus on. Comment was such a problem was because the words did not match the action.
Right, and so we should focus on the action.
That was the other part. He didn't go during Katrina, and he got dinged for that.
It's a couple things. Like his approval was starting to go down at that point, and people were sort of done with him.
And this is 2005.
It's 2005.
course, which is not
final.
election.
You know,
Final
look,
word.
there's a couple of things. First of all, you don't need the president, you need the vice president. You don't need people coming into a disaster area right now. It is disruptive. I have lived through those things, and it is incredibly disruptive, and they know that. The other thing I would say is that I know Joe Biden. Joe Biden is going to do the best job he can for the people regardless. These are all red states generally. I know Georgia's in play, North Carolina may be in play, I think it is. But the fact of the matter is he is representing all people, and he is going to do his best. But if there is anybody, Mike, that has played politics with weather, it is Donald Trump. You can only remember Sharpiegate when he, kind of redid the hurricane map. And I think it's just wrong. And I think while people like to see their leaders doing some things, they want to see action. They want to see things that are happening. It is difficult in this particular situation. You've got destruction for, as they said, 500 miles. This is not like just farmers. This is really, really very difficult to try to get disaster across the board.
But
That's,
speed
Sharpie
matters.
gauge.
Speed matters in
Agree
this
with that.
case. And this is where there could be a hit on the Biden-Harris administration if they don't get relief aid.
No,
not them, but relief aid to these devastated areas fast enough. And we're sending it in by mule at the moment.
No,
Because we have to. I mean,
Because we have
it's
to.
helping. Let's go live to Los Angeles, bring in CNN senior political analyst Ron Brownstein. Ron, good morning to you. This,
morning.
of course, is Donald Trump politicizing what is going on here. Can you talk a little bit about how things like this tend to, they can impact presidential campaigns in major ways. I remember Superstorm Sandy back in 2012 really having an impact at the end here. Trump clearly trying to take advantage of it. What's going on, and how do you think this is ultimately going to impact the campaign with about 30 days left to go?
Well, first of all, as in so many cases with Trump, his accusation is projection. He explicitly during COVID said he would be more responsive to governors who were, nice to him, basically, and didn't criticize him than those who did not. Remember his attacks on Gretchen Whitmer at a point where Michigan was reeling in the initial stages of the pandemic. I think there's a wild card. North Carolina is a state that is very much in play. Decided Trump won it more narrowly than any other state he won in 2020. If Democrats do win it this time, it would certainly be narrowly, and the amount of devastation that the state has experienced is, I think, an unpredictable factor. And the Biden administration's response could be important at the margin in a state where almost anything could tip the results. So yeah, I do think this is a wild card, an unpredictable element in there. You haven't heard Harris talk a lot about climate change. She's more focused on convincing voters in Western Pennsylvania she won't end their kind of fossil fuel economy. But it is an opportunity as well to talk about, as you were talking about in the previous segment, the way in which the climate is changing that is making terrible events like this more common.